Hi everyone, thank you for taking your time out to attend this Inclusive Sports Conference and Carnival 2021. My name is Aerfi. For this session, I will be giving you a brief introduction of the Paralympic movement and implementation in school during lesson. Whereas my friend Mariette will be sharing on how she introduced the I'mPOSSIBLE philosophy and program to students at SOTA through platforms such as the Gotong Royong Learning Festival in 2019 and 2020, which was then taken up as a CAS project initiated by a team of IB students. Before I start my presentation, let me share with you a bit about myself. I am currently a PE teacher from Sengkang Primary School and have been a PE teacher for about 4 years, teaching students of the ages 7 to 12. I started teaching students in Sengkang Primary about the Paralympic movement as well as Paralympic values over the past 3 years. In 2019, I had the opportunity to visit Japan to see how Paralympics were taught in Japanese schools under the I'mPOSSIBLE Overseas Exposure Program. These are the topics that I will be sharing with you today. Introduction of Paralympics movement and implementation in school during lesson. So how did the Paralympic movement started? Sport for athletes with an impairment has existed for more than 100 years. And the first sport clubs for the deaf were already in existence in 1888 in Berlin. It was not until after World War II, however, that it was widely introduced. The purpose of it at that time was to assist the large number of war veterans and civilians who had been injured during wartime. In 1948, Sir Ludwig Guttmann, a German-born British neurologist, organized a sports competition involving World War II veterans with a spinal cord-related injury in Stoke Mandeville, England. 4 years later, competitors from Holland joined the Games, and the international movement, now known as the Paralympic movement, was born. Earlier on, I mentioned about the I'mPOSSIBLE initiative. Well, I'mPOSSIBLE is an education program developed by the Agitos Foundation, the International Paralympic Committee's IPC development arm, to spread the Paralympic values and the vision of the Paralympic movement to young people throughout the world. Through education of inclusion and the Paralympic values, I'mPOSSIBLE aims to challenge and change the perceptions of how young people perceive people with impairment, thus bringing about a more inclusive society. The experience I gained from the I'mPOSSIBLE Overseas Exposure Program, as well as knowledge I gained from the workshop I attended, helped me to share the Paralympic movement to my students. Since 2019, P5 and P6 students have been introduced to goalball and sitting volleyball as part of their post-exam activities. This year, in Sengkang Primary School, I've decided to incorporate the use of ICT into their lessons, using iPads, QR codes, online videos, as well as Kahoot platform to educate students on what is the Paralympic game. Students will find out what the Paralympic Games mean. For a symbol of Paralympic Games, students will know the meaning behind the symbol of the Paralympic Games. Paralympic values, namely determination, inspiration, courage, and equality. For Paralympic sports, students will be introduced some of the Paralympic sports that are played in the Paralympic Games. But focus is mostly on goalball as well as sitting volleyball, as these two sports will be introduced to the students to play. For Singapore Paralympians, students will be introduced to Yip-In Siu, Laurentia Tan, and Teresa Goh. Also, there are success stories. Besides that, students will be given the latest news. The Tokyo Paralympic Games was originally scheduled on the 25th of August to 6th of September 2020. However, due to COVID-19 pandemic, it is now rescheduled to 24th of August to the 5th of September 2021. For the Kahoot quiz, it reinforced students' understanding on what they have learned. Now, you may want to take out your handphones or iPads to see the lesson package I shared with my students. Besides the online lesson, students were taught the safety rules of handling each equipment. They also get to play goalball and sitting volleyball. The pictures also depict some of the equipments that my school has purchased the past 3 years. Please enjoy a short video of my students playing sitting volleyball. For those who have gone through the Sengkang Primary School Paralympic wall slides and are interested to try the Kahoot quiz, please find the game pin for the quiz. Lastly, thank you for listening, and now I shall hand over the session to my friend Mariette. Mariette, please.
Thank you, Aerfi. Hi everyone, I'm Mariette here. I'm teacher at School of the Arts SOTA. I'm going to share with you what I've done at SOTA students for this I'mPOSSIBLE program. So in SOTA itself, we are an IB school. So IB means International Baccalaureate. So it's a 6-year school program itself. And we believe that because our students they are privileged in terms of the experiences that they have, the curriculum that they have. So we believe in this notion of noblesse oblige, such that it's like so richly receive, so willingly give. And this is a mandate that all our students are aware of, and they know that they have they're in a situation where they have to give. But before they give, they should also learn. Okay, so that's where we're going to move on to sharing with this. So just a very quick introduction itself is what you see on the screen. SOTA is under the ambit of the MCCY, and we are the only pre-tertiary specialized education school that offers arts and academic education for youth aged between 13 to 18 years old. And basically the students, they will read the International Baccalaureate program, either the diploma or the career program, by the end of year 5, year 6. So what you see over here is there are 4 girls who took on this I'mPOSSIBLE CAS project as one of their many CASs that they do. Okay, so we have the Annalie also on the top, and then Kaha, and then on the bottom left side is Kasumi and then Nicole. So these are the 4 girls who has been fronting this project last year. So just a brief introduction for those who are not very aware of the IB curriculum itself. The aim of the IB program is to develop internationally minded people who recognize that the common humanity and shared guardianship of the planet, and to help to create a better and more peaceful world for all. Okay, and then in the IB curriculum itself, our students read 6 subjects plus 3 core subjects. So as what you heard from Aerfi just now at the beginning about CAS, what we call CAS for short, is a creativity activity service which all IB students are required to read, or what you say, to do this subject, and it leads into the offer of the diploma program. Okay, so very quickly in CAS for SOTA itself, our students, through CAS, our students get to develop themselves. So they do activities, they do projects that's beyond the curriculum. Okay, and it's borderless, it's carried out outside the school curriculum time. And in SOTA, our students do between 2 to 6 CAS projects across 18 months. And being an IB school where our world values and our world understanding and perspective is important, within the CAS projects, one of it must address a UN Sustainable Development Goal, what we call the UN Global Goals, or SDG goals for short. And being a SOTA IB art school, our students also need to involve the arts in their project. So, it's actually all self-run by our students itself. And very importantly, in the CAS experience, submissions of reflections where they reflect and they think and they write about their experiences in the projects is a very important component. Okay, so I want to share with you that there's a similarity between the IB learner profile and our CAS learner outcomes with the Olympic and Paralympics value. So if we see on the corner right side itself, Paralympics values of determination, courage, equality and inspiration. This is being lived on what we can, it can be demonstrated and experienced in the IB learner profile that you see over there, the 10 profiles: inquirers, principled, thinkers, caring, balanced, knowledgeable, risk-takers, communicators, reflective, and open-minded. And as I mentioned about, it's a CAS project, right? The students are also able to identify that through this I'mPOSSIBLE program that they have, right? They are able to address the CAS learner outcomes, which we have 7 learner outcomes, which is strength and growth, challenge and skills, initiative and planning, commitment and perseverance, collaborative skills, global engagement, ethics of choices and action. So in their reflections, they talk about how they have applied their experiences in that CAS project with the Paralympics values in their reflections. So next one I'm going to share with you is that how we introduce the I'mPOSSIBLE program in our school, mainly in 3 platforms. We have a Gotong Royong, all right, which is actually a learning festival where the community comes together and we learn from one another. Community includes not only the school, but also the expert partners that we have. So we started this I'mPOSSIBLE program at 2019. Okay, we have as many as 50 students participating, right? And then from the experience itself, the 4 girls that you saw earlier on, they came together, they say, hey, I want to start this CAS project. So that's where last year, 2020, they were running a lot of many activities for our students, for our cohort mates, okay? With their juniors, with their cohort mates, and during recreation playtime. So last year, being a COVID-19 year itself, it was quite challenging, frankly, but we managed to be able to do the physical sessions with all the masks on and practicing the safe distancing. In addition, the students also have to reach out to the student population and audiences through the public platform like social media, so which later I will share with you. Okay, and last year in 2020 October post-exam activity, we organized our 11th Gotong Royong. Unfortunately, because of the number of students allowed, we are only able to reach out to 16 students because, capacity of 10 students per venue, the kind of restriction. Even though the whole hall can take 1,200, we can only accommodate 10 students. Okay, so what you saw, there's a big drastic reduction. Okay, but this year we'll start coming back again. So very quickly, this is what the students has also shared in their website itself. The aim for their CAS project is to align with the Paralympic Games. They want to promote equality, equity, social inclusivity for the disabled by advocating and spreading awareness. They also want to foster a deeper understanding and acceptance of the disabled through activities that allow the participants to experience what is it like to have a disability. So that was the focus, that we want to bring in this element to say, what if I don't have these certain elements, of I don't have a lower body itself, right? So how do I play the game? How do I continue to be active in the game? All right, so as you have heard, one of our CAS criteria is that they must address the UN SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and also so the students identified that from this CAS, they're able to address goal number 3, which is good health and well-being, and goal number 10, reduce inequalities. So these are the two main goals that the students will be, focusing on. They were focused on as they were presenting and sharing their experiences and leading the juniors in this activity. All right, so I'm going to share with you some of the reflections that the students write. So as what you know, in CAS, reflections is important. So Annalie, which is actually a team leader itself, right? She shared this, that she got to understand more of the Paralympic values, and she says that determination, inspiration, courage, and equality are a few significant values from the Paralympic Games. It's amazing that these life values can be applied to sports and vice versa. Okay, and also share about how she has found that these Paralympic values are also applicable to herself as a teenager. Okay, I'm going to move on, right? And then before we start, or the first session of our I'mPOSSIBLE program, we had we got them to think about what I used to think and now I think kind of thinking program. So they invited their peers to join them. That was before we went into a circuit breaker. That was in January, February period. So as they were playing and they got to understand about the Paralympics, so they came forward and said, okay, I'm going to play this game. So initially they thought that Paralympic Games is actually a form of exercise for the disabled, for rehabilitation, for relaxation. They didn't know that the games were as rigorous as for the able body. So the students managed to experience that. So they used to think this way. But then one of the activity that we had was to have a blindfold. So they were walking around the school, experiencing what is it being like to be visually impaired. And Kasumi, which is one of the team members, she shared that this activity was actually very eye-opening for her. We also saw a video of Sochi 2014 Paralympics, which got her to realize that they are very amazed by how courageous the Paralympians were. Okay, so that was our first activity that we had. Okay, so then after along the way, the students they organized about every month they played a game. So they invited their juniors, their peers to play during the recreation time. And in addition, as I said, they also went to research because CAS has a requirement where the grounding in research is important to understand the games, not just play, they've got to understand. So Kaha shared that through her research, she really got to know or establish new knowledge in the cases or in the sports that she has never encountered before. And if we see in the center section of the reflections, she learned about not giving up despite all the struggles that was being faced and the disabilities. And it actually inspired her to persevere in everything that she does, in the encounters that she has. Okay, so next one I'm going to share with you is that, as I mentioned, we had recreation play time. What you saw on the screen here, we have our two senior boys, and we tried to do this para badminton game. And you see behind, there are many students who are playing normal badminton. So this is really during lunchtime, where our hall is available for students to come in. And you notice that even the hall is very big, we can only have about 6 students in half of the hall. Right, that's about 1 netball court size. Okay, so enjoy the snapshots that we have shared with you. Okay, so the next one, what you see on the slides here is the website. There's 4 students created, the I'mPOSSIBLE CAS website, because in addition to the physical sessions, they decided to put together a website to document the experience. So they went to research, and because all these 4 girls, they are dancers. So for them, dance sport is a very intriguing sport. So they went deep into research in this. So in totality of all the para games, events, they identified 6 games that they went into deeper research into understanding. So what you see on screen here are the dance sport, para swimming, and boccia. So they also played go ball, because in our school we play go ball. So they research on that. Yeah, a couple of other games that we have also. Okay, so this is a sample of a website that they came out with. So another sample they came out with is Instagram, because being youth, they like the social media a lot, and they believe that they can reach out to the public through the social media. So they created a website, they put in the fun facts, and if you see the pictures on the left side, all the print screens of the athletes. So if you click onto that, it will lead you to what they have researched about. Okay, so this is one activity. And on the corner right side, the logo is created by Nico Fan. She felt that, okay, this is a representation of her understanding of what is I'mPOSSIBLE. Okay, so then I'm going to share with you also the 3 year 1 boys experience in the para games in badminton.
Okay, so the first question is, please explain your experience playing para badminton.
Okay, it was very fun. It forced us to think really quick, like, because you cannot run back and then just smash. So you have to like lean back all the way.
Like in badminton, you have to depend on your legs to run back. This one you only have your knees.
And it really tells us like how important our legs in badminton is. Like some of us think like our arm is the most important because the racket. But when it comes to we really realize like our legs are most important. Hey, you're special, you know. This sport is a special sport because it's a tough sport, you know. Even like you take a very famous badminton player, ask him to play badminton in the state. Well, you see the people who are disabled playing them with like absolutely no sweat, makes us feel very like underpowered.
So then you realize when you do it, then you realize, oh, actually it's not as easy as what you see to do. Yeah.
Okay, so then subsequently, last year, 2020, end of the year, we had Gotong Royong. So Nico Fan shared about experiences organizing and leading the participants in Gotong Royong. So the last section, I want to highlight to you that, okay, as I say again, she's a dancer. So for her, she felt that the body is essential in creating her craft. And so this cast has not only made her more appreciative of body, right, but you also got her to realize that having the 4 limbs is never a privilege, that she should take it for granted. Right, so the last sharing from me will be the overall reflections by the I'mPOSSIBLE cast team.
The RE sessions with the other students were definitely the most memorable for me. The class experience was in a way quite demanding, needing to research and post articles relatively regularly. And hearing the reflections of the students and seeing that their perspectives have changed was the most rewarding for me. I did not expect to see the simple actions we took to have the power and effect, and seeing that we could help to reduce the prejudice and reserve people hold towards the physically impaired and Paralympic sports made the work we did prior worthwhile.
The UN SDG that is the most relevant in our CAS is goal number 10, reduce inequalities. As our CAS aims to promote inclusivity of the disabled through playing games designed for people with disability, we want to reduce inequalities faced by the disabled, ensuring that no one is left behind. Inclusivity of the disabled is something that is less focused on as compared to other inequalities such as gender, race or ethnicity. Furthermore, many may also be unaware of the inequalities that the disabled may face. Hence, our CAS addresses this goal number 10 of the UN SDG, increasing awareness of the Paralympic sports.
During one of the Paralympic sports tryouts with our juniors, we got them to share with us their thoughts about their experience on seated volleyball. One of them shared that it was unfair, that he was shorter than his opponent, and it was a disadvantage for him. This was something that we never thought about, that even in the usual sports games, there will always be inequalities due to the physical differences of every individual. This also made us realize that even in the modifications of rules for the Paralympic Games, equity is unable to always be achieved, but the ethics behind the rules aim to make it as equal for all as possible. From having experienced Paralympic Games as explored in our CAS, I got to gain more knowledge on how the Paralympic sports are played, as well as the difference in rules modified for them. This allowed me to become more sensitive to the ways in which we integrate the disabled to allow them to be more included in our society.